So we got Danny, Blessed for Purpose, Maria, Mel of London, two. I believe the two Mels of London. Joanne Official UK. Hello, Joanne. Welcome. Let's just check this is working everywhere. It's been quite an interesting day today in terms of the Chancellor, the economy. Yeah, so this is if you're on Instagram, if you it's sometimes hard to see all the chat sometimes, but it's also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, where else? My YouTube channel as well, the Moblox LinkedIn channel as well. So you've got it sort of streaming on most things. Takes a bit of time for it to go through. So we're back in the studio. I was riding in this morning, listening to a podcast, an interview by the ex governor of the Bank of England, as you do. Most people listen to music. I'm listening to economics. Um, but I learned quite a lot there in terms of what he thinks and how all the economics sort of fits together or doesn't, as the case may be. The people here got Natasha Poole coming in again. Natasha, welcome back. We've got Marky's Palette, Nikki Search, Show Ab Music, Fergus Hart, Chris Wilson. So I've got my Moblox hat on today, which I wear quite a lot actually, but it's a bit too much wearing the logo T-shirt as well. So if you want a hat, I've got a box full actually, so we might be able to send some of those out if you're interested. Here we got Khalid Ahmed. Hello, welcome, afternoon. I'm going to ask you about branding. I'm going to do that in a minute. Now, how things are going. So I was a couple of things. So I don't know if you've been following, but the Chancellor stood up today. He said he wasn't going to do a sort of an emergency budget, but it pretty much sounded like one. And he's announced now. Let's see if we can share this. Now it's quite a package, which is quite welcome. There's always issues with it. You can see the oil and gas industry is already complaining about it. Basically, he's announced a 15 billion pound package. He didn't call it a windfall tax. I think the Labour Party called it that. So they've called it something else, some kind of a exorbitant profit levy or something like that. But anyway, welcome, 15 billion. And all households are going to receive £400 discount on energy bills, which is great. 8 million of the lowest income families are the ones that really do need the help, but also get a one-off payment of 650. So this is a tax on the sort of the oil and gas giants to fund this, because essentially they're making huge profits for not doing anything that they didn't expect to be doing. And the issue is people always say, oh, we've got oil and gas offshore. Why don't we use our own, like in Aberdeen or Scotland, wherever it comes from, the North Sea? It doesn't work like that, because all this energy essentially isn't just flogged down the local market. It goes into the global markets, and so the global price is set by supply and demand, and that applies to all energy. And that's why not much they can do about control of the actual price of energy. So these companies, based on what the shareholders thought they were going to be making, they're absolutely raking it in, because of the price is it's not even artificially high. The price is the price. It's supply and demand. So there's going to be a stability cost of living payment as well of 150, and pensioners get 300. So if you're a sort of a pensioner or disabled pensioner even, then you're getting quite a lot of help actually. And I think the idea was that the total package will cover this £1,200, which Bill's expected to be increased by this year. So the sort of generally average package covers that. If you've got children, lots of bedrooms in your house with the heating on, burning through electricity, then you're probably not going to be doing quite as well. But it's welcome, isn't it? The question for today, as well as questions you want to ask me, is this is all well and good, but none of it applies to small businesses. And I know that most small businesses, 75% of small businesses are sole traders, and your cost of living is inextricably linked with your personal cost of living. How does the government help small businesses, sole traders, especially if you do use energy in your actual business? So if you're working from home, this package probably applies in many ways. But if I've got a small business that uses energy, I'm involved in businesses. I'm involved in Atherton Bikes, actually. We've got a very large machine with lasers in it, which, believe it or not, uses quite a lot of energy. So, how does a business like that, how does the government help those businesses? I've got Little Jamaica on, welcome back. They're here every week. They cook stuff. So, I'm sure they're using energy as well, probably gas as well, electricity. So, how are they helped? And if you've got any ideas, it can be very hard to identify small businesses. And the chancellor said today some people will fall through the cracks, but he's talking about consumers. So if you've got any ideas or thoughts on how the government should be helping small businesses, let me know. So who else we got today? We've got Mike the Bog Doc, nice. Rachel Spokes, um, Krish Kane, is it? Emma Lou Burke, James Pauls, Marky's pallet builds. Wonder what Marky does. Builds pallets. Danielle Sherricks, Chris Wilson. I got a few coming. First principles. Welcome back. Got to recognise his names every week now. Um, Nehaya Zitawi or Julie Hawkins, and Stephen McKerrow, the Mouse Man, the beautiful mice. The one thing I wanted to share as well, because I had lunch today with a friend of mine, a guy called Charles Black, and he's a great example of an entrepreneur, somebody who's had a vision, an idea for most of his adult life, if not all of it, and it's finally coming to fruition. The Charles, when he was a teenager, he had this space TV, obsessed with space, loved it, and he had this vision of space TV. Imagine the CNN, the Sky News of space, basically. But obviously, back then, he's sort of my age now. We're both getting on a bit. When he was a teenager, space was, everything was the size of a house and cost literally a billion to put into orbit. Cost billions to even think about designing things. Never mind put them into orbit. So he had this concept, but the technology wasn't really quite there unless you were government. So you fast forward, good God, 35 years probably, and you're now putting CubeSats into space. The size of a Rubik's cube, almost a bit bigger than that. And putting objects into space now is a lot cheaper than it used to be. You've got Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Everyone's got a space business these days if you're a billionaire. But what they are doing, to be fair, is reducing the cost of deploying assets and payloads into space. So, and technology, we've got digital cameras now, very high resolution. Lots of things have changed. The Charles had a business similar to one I used to have, and he got out of that. And about, I can't remember, it was now about 3, 4 years ago, probably isn't it? Maybe even 5 actually. He started Sen. So I can't really. I've got one of his cups here. I don't know if that's backwards on Instagram, but it's SEN. Anyone got an idea how you reverse Instagram images? Let me know. And I can't really bring a satellite into the studio, sadly. He won't let me wrestle it out of the office. But I've got his cup, so Sen. Go and have a look at that. It's sen.com, Sen on all social media. And he basically decided that, I'm going to do it. So fast forward now 35 years, he launched the business. He works out how to put space hardened cameras. So imagine CCTV that actually works in space, with all the radiation out there and the vibration on launch. He tested on some satellites for government to make sure it actually worked. And now he's deployed and designed his own satellites. So if you imagine Google Earth, right, but in real time video. So a car is about 2 pixels. So you can see the whole of Earth in real time in 4K, 8K video. So initially, it's about 1 meter kind of resolution. That's why a car is roughly sort of 2 pixels, something like that. But eventually, the resolution become better, infrared, and this means that this completely changes. If you're not thinking about this, it's bonkers. In terms of changing our view of Earth, and changing, there's issues with it in terms of privacy and what do you point this thing at? Or there'll be eventually 100 satellite constellation. So you'll be able to go into your app as a consumer and see anyone on Earth in real time in video. So be it the environment, be it humanitarian issues, be it counting whales, counting elephants, um, trading businesses, shipping businesses, insurers, media. There are so many different now. Full disclosure, I'm a shareholder in Sen. That's why I get excited about it. But the point I'm making is that Charles, 35 years later, earlier this year in January, I couldn't get out there at the time due to COVID, and I was just building Moblocks myself as well. He saw his vision, his satellite, a CubeSat about the size of a microwave, go up into space on SpaceX. And that just shows you that if you've got a dream and a vision, you stick at it and you believe in it, and you get people around you also believing like I do, that you can make it happen. And I don't know when I saw it going up, I was actually watching on YouTube. I was sort of holding the tears back, and I imagine what he must have felt standing there watching his dream, take shape and actually be launched. Literally, that's launching a business. That's Charles. That's Sen. Go and have a look at it. You'll start to see the app later in the year and the video stream. So that's going to be a game changer. That is a space unicorn in the making from the UK. Congratulations, Charles. And by the way, thank you for the Korean chicken today. Cheers. So who else have we got on here? So that was my story for the day. If you've got any comments on the news or Charles or Sen or what your vision is, how long you've been at it, share that. That'd be fantastic. Got two Brook, the Jamie Jambo, Mohammed, little Jamaica. Right, let's get into some questions then. So what are we? Sort of ten minutes in. Reese Lloyd. Right, this is a good one. I don't know if you can see it all actually. You probably can't, but it's from a LinkedIn user, so they're anonymous. But essentially, the long version reads, "Hi Piers, hope you're well, enjoying the sunshine. I'm really enjoying my bike now. I'm losing some pounds being out on my bike. I wondered if you knew of any founders who may have lost their business after taking VC funding. Can you recommend if there are any specific steps that a founder should follow to avoid losing ownership of their business when taking external funding?" That is a fantastic question, and that could be a whole podcast or session like this in its own right. So the first thing I keep this reasonably short because I want to get through some questions. But essentially, when you're raising money, you are involving external parties. And they're taking risk, and the way in which they deal with risk is through contract. That's what contracts do. Contracts are a way of exchanging risk and pricing the relationship and the risk on each side. That's what the consideration is, the price in the contract, really. And the less risk you have, the more upside potentially. The probably, the more you're willing to pay in some cases. So investors they do due diligence. They look at your business. They do technical due diligence, commercial due diligence, financial due diligence. They may all sorts of things, and they're trying to work out, what is the risk? Do they understand the risk? One way in which they do that clearly is in the shareholder agreement or the investment agreement. Now, venture normally, and this is, I've got to be broad here, they're normally investing for 15 to 30% of your business at each stage, depending on the valuation, the business, and how excited people are about it and the demand for it, the supply demand characteristics. So, you're not typically going to lose control, but the issue is this: is over time, clearly, as you do more rounds, you can find that your management team, collectively, especially you, if it's your baby, you don't own the magic 51%. Um, now here's the rub. It's this: I've seen people that have said to me, "Oh, I've just raised in £1 million at a ridiculous valuation for something that probably didn't justify that valuation, but they did a good job and they raised the money." And then they start explaining to me the deal, and when you look at the deal, you look at there's some ridiculous clause in there that if they don't hit a particular target on revenue or profit in year three, that the investor can take more shares or take shares off them, or they have to earn their shares back sometimes. So you can find that even when someone's got 10% of your business, they actually can control your business as well. So in that agreement, you'll have consent rights, things you have to ask them for permission to do, hiring people, changing what you do, spending certain amounts of money. You can have veto rights, things that they can just say no to, a similar kind of thing. So lots of permissions can be built into there. So the worst example, I think, is where someone says that there's a consent right for you to raise any more money, be it debt or equity. When that day comes, you need to raise any more money. They've got you by the proverbials if you have them. You can't do anything. So you really have to understand what it is you're signing. And if ever there was a time to understand the small print in an agreement, um, this is it. And do not skimp on the quality and the capability and experience of your lawyers when someone hands you a 100-page shareholder agreement or investment agreement, whatever the hell they want to call it. That can be the difference between you being successful and finding you don't own your business. And to answer your question, yes, I have seen many examples of people that have taken on venture capital funding and they've ended up not working for their own business or not owning any of their own business. Now, most cases, there's been potentially a reason for that. In some cases, it's ended up in litigation. Um, but the professional investors have had these agreements. Been run by lawyers. They've been used many, many times. That they kind of work. So it absolutely can happen over time because you're giving away equity. You got to, and that's why you see in the US, you hear a lot of these large companies, your Facebooks, lots of them, where the founder has a 20 votes per share. So although they might be down to 20, 25% like Mark Zuckerberg or somebody like that, they still control the voting rights in the business. And that's what it boils down to. But don't give it up lightly. Don't raise money and give away shares unless you absolutely have to. And clearly you have to raise finance and grow, especially if you're a tech business or any business that requires you to invest to build a product or service to deliver it. But take advice and really understand what it is you're doing, and also plan out what rounds of finance you think you're going to need, ideally with your investors, and what your dilution, how much your shareholding goes down by, is going to be over time. Because you will end up typically not owning or not having control of a business, especially if you raise multiple rounds of finance. So the question then is, what are the protections for you as well? What's your employment agreement? Is that bulletproof? So, just assume at some point that when you don't control your business and there's a board that you don't control either, and there's agreement with lots of veto right consent rights in there, that you can find that you can be turfed out. The reality is sometimes that might be the best thing for the business. Some founders, the business outgrows them, and that's probably a good thing for all stakeholders. Probably, although they don't want to admit it at the time, for the founder as well. Hope that answers your question. But that is a great question, and that's something that we could do a whole session on with a lawyer. Got my Sen cup. So I don't know if anyone has experienced anything like that. James Burt Official, got Bob 689, Recognize Ltd here, Juxta joined, Shadow Foam. Love it. One thing I love about Moblox and what we do is just people and their businesses and the absolutely incredible bonkers variety of businesses out there. There are 6 million small businesses in the UK, and they're all completely different in most cases because there's a person behind them and they do things in different ways. Right, let's have a look. Steve Bovell. Hi, Piers. As a Bayesian, I'm sure you know sweetbread. I'd like to speak with you about doing it on an industrial scale. Nothing when we're doing sweetbread on an industrial scale. The issue with a lot of Bayesian food is it's full of flipping fat or sugar. I love sweetbread. I just, but you got to think these days about trying to make these things a bit more healthy. My mum makes the best banana bread. I'm sure everyone's Bayesian's mum or West Indians says their mum makes the best banana bread, but my mum does. But there must be about 1 billion calories in each one. So I'm avoiding those at the moment. But yeah, I was in North London the weekend. I got on a bike ride and I sort of was about to go and get a burrito, I think, and I spotted a West Indian sort of, what was it, like a little cafe basically, in like a cabin. And I sort of said, I went around there and bought it. And we're talking about no one's cracked it. People have tried it. You got the big chains like, what the hell is it called, Turtle Bay, and they got people. I think Levi Roots tried it as well. And Peter Jones doing a kind of a West Indian restaurant didn't work out. No one's really cracked it. You've got everything else, Chinese, Indian. You got Portuguese Nando's. Probably nearest to Nando, but no one's quite cracked that West Indian cuisine at scale. So whoever does that is going to make a lot of money because a lot of people that are quite willing to buy a lot of it, and I'm one of them. Yeah, Steve. So one of the things about things like Sen is there are issues with it in terms of privacy and the use and the data. But it's going to happen, and that's the beauty of businesses like Sen is that Twitter, for example, changed the game completely. YouTube did as well. And it's going to completely change the game. There are ways in which that data, that real time video of Earth, can be used. Spotting forest fires as soon as they happen, automatically. the ways that data can be used, we haven't even thought of yet, and that's the beauty of it. That's why it's so exciting, and that's the head of a UK-based entrepreneur, which is refreshing. Escape conversions, Tom. We're supposed to have a call actually, and we seem to be missing each other. So maybe we get on the call tonight. Tom's the craftsman that created my van. If you ever see on my Instagram, there's pictures and videos or shorts of some amazing van with wonderful systems and gadgets in it. That's my van that Tom built. Also, what are your thoughts on Web3, cryptocurrency, blockchain, NFTs, and how if small businesses should be thinking about adopting this new technology? So my macro view of Web3, call it cryptocurrency, as most people sort of familiar with, is that this is a game changer. So my focus has been on, I'd say, it's DeFi, really, the decentralized finance. So it's a future of finance that doesn't involve these large organizations that control the flow of capital in the middle. And all they really do on the way is take a commission off the top. There's no real need for them these days. Banks, maybe not banks, but DeFi, the blockchain allows you to control, monitor, record not only your identity as well, but also have secure transactions. So DeFi is something I played. Also the platform, you sort of Ethereum's as well. Um, Solana's, I've sort of focused on those really, and beat Bitcoin a little bit to some extent. And I've done quite well out of it over time. Obviously, they're down in the toilet now, but you've got to take a long-term view of this. The way I look at this, and I hope I'm right, is that it's like Amazon in 2002. It kind of blew up. The share price was going through the roof, and then it took a huge dive because of the dot-com crash, and everybody sort of ran for the hills, licking their wounds. But if you put money in then, this you hear this phrase, buy the dip. You put money in then, Amazon, I don't know anymore, it's probably 200 times that now. I don't know what the exact numbers are. But when you zoom out, that little dip down here, Amazon's now here. And I think that's the way that crypto generally is going to go. There's a lot of dross in there. There's a lot of crap. There's a lot of fluff. I was never a fan of the NFT craze, to be honest with you. I think there was a use case for it clearly, but there's a lot of people just jumped onto them. No one heard of that until 9 months ago, and then suddenly every Tom, Dick, and Harry is involved in NFTs. So that was something I didn't touch with a barge pole, thank God. Um, that I have taken a massive hit, but I do believe that again there is a use case. We just don't quite know what it is yet. Just like the internet, to me, it's just like the internet. Is that if you fast forward in 10 years, it'll be ubiquitous. It'll drive lots of things. You won't even know it's there, like a microwave. You don't really know how it works. You don't care how it works. It just works. So Web3 is very much the future, and I would continue investing in that. I'm not going to give investment advice at all, but it's quite interesting. I actually got my video got video last week, I think it was. I think YouTube pulled it off YouTube. I don't know what I said, so I've got to be slightly careful, but definitely not giving investment advice. But crypto is the future, I think, of finance. Amir Hussein, been working on my vision for the last few months. That's great. What is your vision? You need to share it. Um, Scott Malcolm. It's a quick one. I say this every week, I think. I did a video on YouTube, on Piers Linney TV. Go and have a look at it. It's called How to Raise Finance for Your Startup. And it talks about the concentric rings of who you should go and talk to, your mum or venture capital fund, or your mate or your neighbor or your friend. And, don't try and push square pegs through round holes. You're wasting your time. So you go and talk to the right people at the right time. Otherwise, it becomes really, really frustrating very quickly. So my advice for that question is go and watch that video so that I don't cover that ground again. Thanks for the question, though. Another good question. A bit of a venture capital day today. So, what are VCs looking for in a deck? I mean, I had a call with a VC, literally with my COO Damon, just before starting this, and there's no, simply put, there's a kind of a rule book of what you put in there in terms of the opportunity, the size of the market, the team, you go to market, the product, the service. You can go through the list, what you're actually asking for. That's fine. But essentially, what people want is they want to understand What's the problem? How are you going to solve it? And then does the way in which you solve it, do they think that that's something you can sell in terms of going to market? Are people going to buy it? And when they do buy it, can you make money out of it? And are you the team to execute that particular vision? That's kind of it. And also, need to tell a story, one that's got, it's got a beginning, sort of the founder, the backstory. It's got a middle. You're going to build the business, and it's got an end. Where how the hell do they get out and get their money back? Investors, equity investors, debt's different. You've got to repay that with interest. Equity investors, they expect you to float on the stock market or they sell the business. So if they can't see a way out, because it's a lifestyle business, you're going to find it very, very hard to raise money. Not saying that you can't raise money, just not from institutional funds. We're looking at raising money from your friends and family. You probably can take a longer view. Maybe you pay them out dividends or you buy them out eventually yourself. So again, VCs are looking for generally a way of making 3 to 4 times their money over a 5 to 7 year period. So that's what they're looking for. So they'll argue to get the lowest price going in because that obviously is the best way of maximizing the multiple going out in many ways, given it's a fixed number in the future, perhaps. So you need to understand venture capital and how they think before you engage with them. Otherwise, it can appear like a dark art, but it's not really. It's pretty straightforward. Um, let's see if I can see. And my healthcare starter is from Reese Lloyd. And my health, we really are rattling through them today, aren't we? At my healthcare starter, we're currently looking to raise our SEIS seed round. So if you don't know what SEIS is, there's a government tax scheme, the biggest one, sort of EAS, Enterprise Investment Scheme. This is the seed version of that. So you can raise up to £150,000. And if the investors are UK taxpayers, income taxpayers, and they paid enough income tax, they can get 50% of their investment back, which is pretty flipping amazing if you think about it in terms of a tax scheme. It's fantastic. And these schemes what drive a huge amount of investment in the UK. You also get loss relief if things don't go to plan. And the real kicker is that at the end of if you sell the business and make a profit, you don't pay capital gains tax. This is huge. Do you know of any sites where we can find angels in a certain space, health space? Yeah, seems to be our biggest challenge at the moment, finding investors who can. Let's have a look. Add not just capital, but value too. Hmm. Um, this is a endless conversation and question you get about money. Um, you know, does money come with a value added? So a lot of investors will say to you that they want to add value. The reality is, and it's quite hard to work out at the outset, some do, some don't. Some will set out their stall that that is part of their investment ethos, which is great. Some will have even more than that. They'll have facilities or people or things they can actually point at, even office space actually, that they can put you in and give you that support. That's their model. Um, Incubators, accelerators, depending where you are in your sort of a growth trajectory. So some will kind of try and sell you that because they want to get into the deal and say we can add value. But you need to, if you've got options, which is not always the case, if you've got options, you need to ask and work out, can they really add value? And the best way to do that is go and talk to the other portfolio companies and ask, have they added value? So in Moblocks, we've got quite a lot of shareholders actually who've added value. So, they understand the market and, I don't have all the answers, I can tell you that. So I'm quite happy to reach out to them and ask them, "What do you know about this? Do you know somebody here? Can you help with that?" And then more often than not, clearly, they don't always have the time because they're busy people, some of them, but more often than not, they do get involved, they do add value, but it's in fits and bursts. Yeah. They're not gonna come and sit in your office and, give you sort of guidance on a day-to-day basis, and probably don't want that anyway. So be very careful about being sold advice unless it's a structured version of it. You get an office, you get accounting or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, it's only really you and your team that really knows how to grow your business. But what people can do, and what you should look for, is that support mechanism that means you just don't fall into the obvious potholes. Um, well, they're not actually obvious to most entrepreneurs, but they're there. And you want a team around you or people you can rely on, or a board of directors with experience that means that you can avoid some of those potholes and just reduce your execution risk. That's what you're looking for. If you can reduce your execution risk, plucking numbers out of the air here, by 20%, that can make a massive difference in terms of your risk of not going anywhere at all, and then the actual potential value of your business in 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years. Because, changing the trajectory today over a long period of time has a massive impact. It's like, when you're shooting a rifle, you're off a couple of millimeters here, down range, you can't hit a barn door. I don't know if I answered your question there, but, that's what sprung to mind in terms of an answer. Amar Hussain, this is brilliant. Hi, Piers. I've been contacting many investors via sending emails and messages on LinkedIn, but I haven't gotten answers. May I know what other VCs investors looking for in a pitch deck? So I've answered this as well, but I didn't really answer the first bit. And I've actually done this quite recently. Now, probably because people don't recognise me or my name, they don't always know me from Adam, to be quite frank. But sometimes, you know, contacting an investor, VC or not, anyone, can be the hardest thing. And the best way to do it is to have a warm intro, and that can be really painful as well because you might not have the access to the networks to actually make that happen. But that's the best way of doing it in many cases, to try and cut through the noise. And some have processes that you have to go through because, obviously they see lots of different business plans and they need a way of filtering it themselves. So they might have a process and they might force you down it. So don't fight that. Just go down it and make sure that your pitch deck stands out, like I said earlier. Right, who have we got here on Instagram? Which Instagram could integrate? Little Jamaica. You've got to crack the egg to fry it. Feasted UK. Hey, we talked to you then, sir, about trying your one of your meals, just finding our way with funding investment, slow growth or fast growth. Um, yeah, so I met Feasted on our van tour. They were on last week as well, actually. That's a good question again. So, slow growth or fast growth? So, basically, the way to look at it is growth involves risk. So, the faster you're growing, and again, I've got another playlist on my YouTube channel called about growing your business, the 5 factors for growing your business. The playlist, go and have a look at it. And I talk through them all again. I mention this every week as well, I think. So it's planning, finance, people, operational setup as well. That's really, really important. And then technology as well. So they're the 5 things. So if you've got your ducks in a row and you're well funded, and you've tested your marketing, your market, and your product, and you've got, in tech parlance, product market fit. You know that there's a market for your product. If you sell in this way, you can engage customers and convert them into paying customers, and then by doing that, you can scale up. But even if you know that, if you start to scale a business quickly, it's called for trading in many ways. You'll find, they always say that it's like a pantomime horse, that the front end will detach from the back end. So you may be killing it in sales, but actually you can't deliver the products or the service. You haven't got the systems, the process, the people, the support, the customer service to back it all up, or even the funding sometimes. Because sometimes as you grow, you're selling stuff, you need lots of input into it to sell it. You're not getting paid for 30, 60, even worse than that sometimes, days. So you've got to think about your working capital requirements as well. So that is a question of your plan, um, understanding your capabilities, both not just you, your team, the business, and what resources you have. And then the idea really is to take it easy initially, test things, don't blow too much money until you think you've got it right, and then scale it up slowly. And eventually, if you really do hit, you find a real pace, and you can hit it hard, throw money at it, you'll find it. Once you can prove that and show all of that through metrics, you'll find it much easier to raise money. Tasha Pool, welcome again. Hi, Piers. I recently employed a new accountant. What happened to the old accountant? I nearly signed up for Zero app, but I was too scared. I often wonder if there are any good apps that I should use for the usual running a business, stuff like HR, legal, IT, accountancy. More here. I want to get more digital. And that's what all small businesses should do. You should automate. You should spend time doing the things you're good at, selling stuff, making stuff, delivering your service, keeping your customers happy. Not admin, not accounting, not bank recs, not expenses, nonsense like that. So you need to find the package that's best for you. Also, if you're, back in the day, 10 years ago, your local IT shop or communications provider used to come around to your, even if you're quite small, how about very small businesses, 10, even 20 years ago, where they'd build you a room almost, put a air conditioning unit, a load of servers, a racks, and they'd sell you software, and you get a support contract, and they take your tape drives home at the weekend, stuff like that, even every night if you forgot. Cloud's killed all of that. Everything's is infrastructure's in the cloud, software's in the cloud, which is a great thing. But it means it's very hard to find people that can provide you that kind of service where it costs in now because you're paying 10, 15 quid a month for something. They can't look after you in the same way. So you got to think about how do you find that support and that guidance to make sure you're making the right purchasing decisions. And this is something that we at Moblocks are very focused on. You'll see from my website that we're very content sort of heavy at the moment because we're busy building our services. But this is something that you should uh, really think about, and this is something we are going to do. While I'm on Moblocks, pitch to Piers, win £10,000. You haven't entered it already. I really do not understand why you haven't. Why would you not enter? It's 10K. All we're asking you to do is tell us about your business, your ambition. 5 finalists get to pitch to me. Nothing too stressful. A chat like this, and I'll ask you a question about your business. Then we'll pick a winner. They get £10,000. Winner. So please do enter that. You just got to sign up to Moblocks and enter that. Also, I haven't got it here. I haven't got a graphic. My course, sign up to Moblocks, get access to my course. It actually answers lots of these questions, but I'm always here to answer more questions as well. And follow us on Instagram as well. So if you're looking at accountancy software like Natasha is here, there's lots of options. Is it Zero? Is it QuickBooks? Is it Pandal? Is it Cashflow? Is it there's lots of them. I want to remember all the names. And some of them cost more than others, some are more complicated than others. Some are built for bigger businesses, some are built for very small businesses. So for your size, your business, your budget, your ambition, your scale, your pace of growth, the amount of people you've got in the business, your technical ability, your understanding of accounting, it might be a different solution. Now, who do you go and ask for that? People are going to ask the mate or the accountant. Not a bad shout, your accountant. But most accountants will sell a package that they're used to, happy with. So that's not always the right answer. But in Moblocks, we are going to be producing, I have it actually, content helps you make those decisions. Instagram, yeah. Recognized LTD. We are the next unicorn in women's health. Hoorah, brilliant. We are online pregnancy wellbeing tech company. Just on a picture online pregnancy there. But that's fantastic. And there aren't that it amazes me in the US, it annoys me. All the unicorn news comes from there. There's been a few in the UK quite recently, actually, especially during COVID. Some of them became quite large, but that's fantastic ambition. Just like my friend Charles has said, his ambition is absolutely 100% to create a unicorn. He's not messing about. So, sometimes if that's your vision, that's your goal, you can set the bar that high. And if you get the right product, especially in a market like that, healthcare, where there are huge issues that have not been solved yet, especially in many for women as well, you can absolutely build a huge business. And potentially, it sounds like it could be global as well. Original Marjorie, hello. Chris Kent, you've got well today. ECGK, drop me a message. Yeah, looking forward to a home box. Tom Smith here. Let's click on this. I'm always nervous what I click on. Let's see what it says. Hi, Piers. I am looking to set up my own business offering bespoke multi-medium design services, such as airbrush art commissions. Okay, sounds very bespoke. Digital design, custom clothing prints. What would you advise the first step in starting up from scratch? Wow. And generating interest. So I don't know, Tom, whether this is a business idea. You used to be a accountant, and this was a hobby, and you decided that you want to build it into a business. That could be a fantastic way of creating a business because you're passionate about it and you understand it. Um, all I say to you is, because I'm obviously can't go through how to build a business here right now, is sign up to Moblocks and and get my course. It's free. What fucking courses? It's free, right? So if you don't do anything else in Moblock, hopefully you'll buy our services down the line. But if you just go to my course and you have to go through the whole thing, but look at the modules and the lessons and pick out the ones that sound interesting to you or the ones where you feel as though there's a hole in your knowledge or understanding, and just listen to me talk to you like this, if you can bear it, for half an hour a day for a couple of days, and that'll help plug a lot of the holes. And I go through everything from legal structure all the way through to digital marketing, hiring people, firing people, and even to accounting and finance as well. So a lot of what's in my head, I distilled it and sort of poured it into that course. And it's called Startup with Piers Linney because that was the branding at the time. But it is does help particular startups, anyone with a new business. But a lot of the stuff in there is for people that have a business but haven't really had to think about it yet. I can just see someone here, Simon Shaw, has just enrolled in Startup with Piers Linney. So Simon, if you're listening, congratulations. I would advise Tom to go and do that. And then really, in terms of generating a interest, and that's marketing. So, whether it's social media, whether you've got a following, whether you do something particularly fantastic or different, and there's a process to doing that, and it can take time, and it can take money. But in technology, we tend to call it product market fit. Is who is your customer? Who are they? You really understand who they are. Like if you had to describe them literally down to what toothpaste they use, who is your customer and why do they need your product or your service? And then the question is, once you understand that, a lot easier to get your marketing messages right and to communicate with them. And this question just testing, testing, testing until you find what works, what resonates, what engages, what allows you to get the most bang for your marketing buck in terms of potential sales. Hopefully that turns into business. Sometimes you find that it doesn't because not enough interest, the market's not big enough. It sounds like with bespoke products, it can be very hard to scale them because how do you churn them out? I had this conversation with Steve McCarrow, who's on here as well somewhere, who makes these beautiful handmade mice, but he seems to, I kind of said this to him, he had the answer actually. He seems to have thought of a way of scaling it up in terms of how he actually overlays his design onto different products. So if you've got something which is quite bespoke, and you want to, you got to make sure that you can build a business, have the scale that allows you to have the lifestyle you want from that business. If you want that to be your key income, if you can only make one a week and sell it for 20 quid, not going to work. So think about that from the outset. How do you scale? And that goes back to technology, goes back to Moblocks clearly, which is about automate the crap and focus on what you're good at. Yeah, Julie Hawkins. I'm not a fan of crypto. I've seen too many people part with money they couldn't afford on the promise of easy wealth. It frightens me anyone who endorses it. Yeah, so a lot of people have. You should never invest money that you can't afford to lose quite often, to be honest with you, especially in this stuff as well. So a lot of people thought that they can put a bit of money in it, and they get 200 times the money back. You can't think of it like that. You've got to understand these things, like any equity investment. Basically, understand what is the product or service, and what if you're investing in particular sort of coins or tokens, or what is it? What does it do? You need to understand the use case, the market. If you're investing in one because it's got a pretty picture of a dog on it, then that stuff for me makes no sense whatsoever. Look at each one of these things and understand what is it, what is the use case, and what's its value in the long term in terms of its use, its customers, and its economic value, especially in finance. Otherwise, put your money in a tracker fund. That's not financial advice. Um, into here, quite a few. It's also hard to pick them out. I need a producer. I need to get a Sophia back or Nicola producing so that I can keep talking and you can feed me the questions. So this might have to scale up this actually because there's so many things to look at. Simon Short, done. Nice one. I really do think, and I do get good feedback from my course. I'm quite proud of it actually. It won't give you all the answers, but it'll give you a lot of things to think about, and also give you the pointers of where to go and look next. It's like having a long coffee with me and having a conversation about each one of those subjects. So it's 76 lessons, 10.5 hours, and it's free if you're doing Moblox. And please, anyone else in business or starting a business, tell them about it as well and get them to sign up. Can't even say that. You're not that late. We've probably got another 10, 15 minutes left. So if you've got a question, um, I'm gonna say it. Bais we Chishabala. Let me know if you got a question. Right, I'm gonna have a look at let's have a look at Instagram here. HH2H. Hi Piers. First question is from me. Thank you for answering. Much appreciated. Quick follow on. If you do a podcast about this topic with lawyers, can you also include the founders in the I see that meant conversation. Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of, I'm a lawyer. I don't know if you knew that. I'm actually a venture capital lawyer, or I trained at a venture capital focused firm. That's all I ever did. And I've been doing that for years. I mean, documentation, I understand it very, very well. So, and the thing about me, about blowing my own horn, is that I've sat on every side of the table. I've been the investor personally. I've been invested through a fund, debt, equity, hedge fund, alternative finance. I've been the entrepreneur. I've been on the board of both the entrepreneurial business, the company raising money. I've been on the board of British Business Bank that put 90 billion during COVID into UK small businesses. I've kind of seen it all from all sides of the table. So I've got a good idea of what the issues are. And also, I've seen, investment agreements, shareholder agreements go wrong. Quite often, people say to me, "Oh, Piers, I need to get a co-founder." I'm like, "Why the hell do you want a co-founder?" Because unless you, and I met people. There's a venture capital outfit called Antler, actually, which is quite interesting, where they back people that they don't know what they want to do yet. And quite often during that process, in the sort of the people they meet become co-founders because they kind of the idea is gestates. They come up with it and they create it, and it's their vision that's been brought together by two or more of them. If you've got a a skill, dream, aspiration, you come up with it, and just going out and finding a co-founder for the hell of it, because it sounds like a good idea, can be a really bad idea. What you often found is that when people have been there, actually, although now friends again, is that you fall out with a co-founder quite spectacularly, and that can be the end of a business, very simply. And it's impossible to raise money when that's going on. And I've seen that many, many times. You're better off working out, who's the boss, sticking with it, and bringing people in with the right skills over time. Sometimes you might need a co-founder, especially a technical one. If you have no idea whatsoever, that can be tricky. But even when you do that, going back to shareholder agreements, is make sure that you can get divorced quite easily, because making it messy will be the end of your business. Yeah, so Simon Short there, I'm starting again. So what my course does really is just try and navigate you through the myriad of potholes that entrepreneurs fall into, and hopefully it just helps you understand where they are, so that you can at least avoid them and step over them. And that's really what it's about, to be honest with you. And that's why I made it, because I just realized that there's nowhere to go to get this kind of advice. All this stuff on Instagram about you know straight line growth, ask the universe, entrepreneur mindset. It's just nonsense. That's not going to help you execute. Not going to help you negotiate the trademark objections you have with your business. It's not going to help you hire people. It's not going to help you downsize your team when you have to and go through the pain of that. It's all nonsense. Building a business, I'm telling you right now, I'm doing the game now, and it's still hard work. Is hard work, and it takes a lot of time and energy, and there's risk involved. And serial entrepreneurs are able to do that. I said this in the look at our on the Moblox website. We've got business as usual, our show, a great one with a guy called Alex. He's got a business called Kaiku. It's Kaiku, which provides software to venture capital firms so they can use machine learning, I think it is, call it AI, to search for companies based on their criteria. And we talked about that on there. So have a look at that. That's business as usual on the Moblox website. That's like it's more like a sort of a mini TV show, long form podcast in the middle. I think we'll do a podcast on that. There's a couple of law firms that I know would be interested in talking to people through that. Thank you. That's my job, to tell you like it is. The issue with entrepreneurs and small businesses is Everyone's just trying to sell stuff to you, and Moblocks, at the end of the day, we want you to buy our products and services eventually. We want you to buy them because they're flipping amazing, not because we foisted it on you with some nonsense marketing or because you don't really understand what it is we're selling to you. So we managed to sort of pull a fast one, and that's how most small businesses are sold to. We want to change that game. So my job and I don't have all the answers. Right? I know some things across the top. I know quite a bit about lots of different things. Some things a lot vertically, but a lot of them I don't. And that's where Moblocks is not the Piers Linney show. We need to bring people and experts, which is what we're doing, to answer these questions in great detail. And that's what the content on the website's about, and will over time become more and more expert as well. Well, that might be you might have to sign up or buy something for that. We're deciding, and I don't want to give too much away, but don't, but if you're looking for legal support or technical support or things like that for your small business, um, don't buy any yet, or don't just hang in, sign up to Moblocks, follow us, and I'm sure we can help you there very soon. Right. Few minutes left. Any more questions? Got a few more on. I always miss them actually. When I go through a LinkedIn afterwards or on YouTube, I realise that I've been scrolling through. I'm getting quite a lot these days, so I might have to wheel in a producer to help me. Let's have a look on Instagram. What are your thoughts on a cocktail drink business, a Drury 99? I used to be a cocktail speed bar flair bartender. I was trained in the UK, and then I actually worked in Germany. I worked in Germany's most famous cocktail bar, Schumann's in Munich, on the Maximilianstrasse, and I made a lot of caipirinhas there. So I make cocktails at home. My favorite are bourbon base. So apart from the caipirinha, which is my favorite cocktail, but whiskey sour, old fashioned, things like that. And I actually do make the cocktail now and then, quite a lot. So there's a lot of it about. It's a question of how you differentiate again. People have done it frozen ones. They've done ones which in sachets, ones even in glasses. There's lots of different ways people have tried that. I can't think of, and I'm quite into cocktails, of a cocktail brand that I would go and look for in a supermarket and enjoy it. I'd rather make my own. So if someone can crack, and and I even know, like, on Deliveroo, actually, some places will send you sort of a cocktail kinda half mixed, and you finish it off, and that works quite well. So you gotta think about that is, are you going mass market, some frozen sugary stuff in a pouch in a freezer somewhere in a large multiple, or is it something a bit more personal? There is a company, I can't remember the name, out in London, I think they're here, that will deliver properly sort of bar quality cocktails, actually. Quite expensive, but then again, it's gonna be, isn't it? So, there's nothing wrong with any business idea. It's just a question of being honest with yourself about the opportunity and whether you can make money out of it and whether you can execute it. And then just trying it if you can get past those hurdles and trying it without, completely blowing every penny you've got and just going small, testing it and see if it works. If it works, then you start to scale it up slowly. A lot of people just have a great idea, and I've been there myself. When you start out and you think, "This is it, I'm right. I know the world wants this," and you go into your shed, and you're whittling away at this thing for like months, sometimes, and you come out, eureka, with your fantastic product or service, and the world's not interested. The world's not listening. The world's moved on, and no matter how much you scream and shout into the ether at the universe, it's just not interested. That happens quite a lot. If you sort of done a half-baked version and then ask universe or the market, or target customers ideally, whether that was right, something they'd be interested in buying, and then they said, "Well, not quite, you need to change that," and you go and change it, iterate it, modify it, whatever you need to do, and keep asking them, keep talking to them, and eventually you might come up with something that they actually do want to buy. Question then is, can you make money out of it? That's a different story. It's Suraj. So, Joy, if you make a cocktail business, actually, one of the dragons, she's got cocktail bars that I keep saying. She's not on the show now, but I keep saying I'm going to meet her for one for caipirinha. Hasn't happened yet, so I need to chase up actually on that one. Josh Jack Rafferty, well, Alan Duggan, Welcome, Oliver Case joined. I should be waving at you, shouldn't I? I should press these. I'm just useless at this stuff. Um, right, Little Jamaica. See, oh, Little Jamaica. By the way, I don't know if you've gone already, but watch out for a clip I'm going to post very soon where you do get a mention. Right, let's have a quick look at whether the news that this web page was updating. Actually, what has happened? Quickly. Okay. Okay, so yeah, looking at the Chancellor's announcement today, but people think it's a great idea. I think it is, to be fair, but they had to do it. Don't know why it took so long. And you got the people on the other side, the lobby groups, basically, who are clearly going to whinge about that. The issue is, obviously, is that if this continues, that even that kind of help won't be enough. So this goes into next year. The travesty in Ukraine continues. We might be looking at the price cut. The prices still keep going up, and with inflation where it is, you're now seeing this. You're going to see this bonfire now of this spiraling inflation. You're seeing now where the unions and there's a tube rail strike, I think, where they need a pay rise because obviously they're looking at inflation, looking at the cost of living, and they want to keep up with that as much as they possibly can. And if the public sector, again, you get into those negotiations, and what happens is clearly people start to see that inflation is going to be at 10%, so I need to earn 10% more, so I should get paid 10%. What happens is clearly that powers inflation, and you get into this spiral of inflation. That's how you get hyperinflation in some countries. I think we'll get there. And I was listening to I think it was Mervyn King, actually used to be the governor of the Bank of England, because I'm really boring, and he was saying that you need a recession to sort of pour cold water on it. So let's hope the powers that be stop doing what they shouldn't be doing and start focusing on what they should be doing, and they can find a way through policy and other economic levers to avoid that happening, because none of us need that at all, and especially those of us, not particularly me, I suppose, but a lot of people that are really being squeezed in the middle by the cost of living, and the business margins being squeezed as well. So if the government come up with a way of helping small businesses, which is not easy, I know Adam Binks has joined. Flipping out, I'm going to have to wave to him. Hello, Adam. Yeah, Adam, you need to get onto LinkedIn. I'm sure Adam's got lots of questions for me. Adam runs a business up in Liverpool that does provide services to the mid-market and enterprises, so cloud-based services. It's been in for a while. Right, I think we're getting to the end of that. Anything else on LinkedIn? Chrissy Lowry. Let's have a look. Chrissy Lowry, not late to the party. You opened a shop in December and you're struggling now. So yeah, so I don't know your particular circumstances, but the issue with shop is fixed costs. So you rent, rate, lights, heating, that stuff, and rates, the perennial problem of rates. So you need to, and this is general advice for anybody, is this cost of living crisis, inflation, interest rates, they're going to get to 2%, 2.5%, 3%, who knows, right? So if you've got debt anywhere in your business, that's going to double in terms of the cost of it. You need to start thinking about that now and planning for 2022, 2023 not being particularly good. Depending on what you sell, whether it's something people need or whether it's something, it's a nice to have potentially. If you're selling a nice to have to people who have, mid-range disposable income in terms of their where they are in the sort of food chain, I suppose, of income and wealth, then you might have a problem, because you're going to find that those people that's no longer nice to have. It is nice to have, but they can't afford it. So they're focusing on the stuff that you must have, not the nice to haves. If you've got some ridiculous expensive product or service you're selling to billionaires, probably not going to impact that whatsoever. think about where you are in the market, who your customers are, how this economy, how the situation is going to impact them, and you need to start adjusting accordingly. And think about businesses, and we all get this wrong sometimes because most entrepreneurs have blinkers of optimism. Is make the changes probably sooner than you think you have to, and go deeper than you probably think you have to as well. Do it once, don't keep doing it. So that death by a thousand cuts is clearly quite painful. So make the changes now, do your planning ahead, and plan for another 18 months of pain, of a slow economy, of people being squeezed, people not having the money they want to spend or used to spend their sickness. We get into sort of a debt spiral. But I think the banks are winding that one in as well. And just think ahead. So if you've got a shop, you might want to think about, I'm being generic, not you specifically, but, renegotiating, getting out of the lease, smaller premises, go to a pop up. I don't know how much you've got in terms of a fit out, but just think about that, especially if you're seeing your footfall or your revenue or your margin drying up very, very quickly. Lots of platforms now, again, going back to mobile and technology, where I don't know what you do, but if you're selling lampshades, you can put that inventory now onto platforms where they can basically offer that worldwide. So that's another opportunity. Your footfall should not be just who's walking past your front window. Depending on what you do, it can be global now. So think about that as well. I hope that was helpful. I don't know, Chrissy, what do you do? I don't know if you're still on there. What do you actually sell? Let me know. Hello, Johannesburg, South Africa. Got a couple of South Africans involved in Moblocks. Got an investor and our finance and commercial head of finance and commercial, Alan. He's South African as well. Seeing if Chrissy came back. Yeah. The platforms are, I don't know if you know them, I don't know what you sell, but it's Fair and there's another one which has completely slipped my name, but you might know what they are yourselves. And what's the hell is it called? It's a business where they actually said like a CRM system as well. So you can then manage your inventory better, but also then it surfaces on their platform, which is kind of global. So your shop window becomes anyone logs into that platform anywhere in the world almost. For crafting businesses rent space and I sell their work. Yeah, okay. So again, I don't know your particular circumstances, but the key is in these difficult times is, or potentially going to get difficult, is try and turn this is to everybody, try and turn every fixed cost you have, if possible, into a variable cost. So fixed costs kill small businesses. As things get hard, hit them, and there's nowhere to go. If your cost base ebbs and flows, variable costs, with your revenue line ideally, then you can take a lot of risk of your business. So not always easy to do. People can be hard because obviously there's rules and regulations about how you deal with that, and sometimes you want to hold on to people for dear life because there's a massive shortage of talent, and that's probably going to get worse as well. So if you've got good people in your business, you want to hang on to them for that dear life, basically. But try and turn all your fixed costs into variable cost. That means renegotiating with landlord. It means getting out of one lease if you can. It means pop-ups or sharing space. Just really think out of the box to reduce your risk. Because the key is to get to the other side. Because on the other side, there's always things always take off again. Probably got less competition locally, regionally, globally, and it's probably a stronger, leaner business. So that's when you can really make some hay when the sun starts to shine again. Right, I'm over an hour. I know you've all got things to do. I think we'll leave it there. So thank you again. All I ask you to do for me sharing some time, you join Moblocks, get access to my course. You can get access to our content as well. If you've got a small business, then you know enter pitch to peers. Go onto the moblocks.com. You'll see the banners there. Win £10,000 for your small business. And once again, I want to thank you all for joining. Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, got Facebook here. It's on Twitter this. I'm not sure anyone watches on Twitter, but Twitter as well. And thank you again. And we'll try and do same thing, same time, same place next week. Cheers.